Hey guys, Nate here, and today I'm going to show you how to get the new Kinetic fusion rifle, Bastion. To start off, to gain access to that quest, you will need to have completed this entire quest that you're looking at on screen right now. You need to save Saint 14, and the way you know you have done that is you will get a triumph for it. Now, keep in mind, just because Saint 14 is in the tower does not mean that you have saved him. Again, you need to complete this quest in its entirety to gain access to the Bastion quest. When you have completed the Impossible Task quest, you will now need to return to Saint 14 in the tower because you will have officially saved him, and he will give you this when you talk to Saint 14. This is called Memento. The first part is called Spoken Word, and this officially kicks off your Bastion exotic quest. For this, you will need to go into the Tangled Shore, and all you're going to do is hunt down fallen captains and servitors. They do not need to be they do not need to be massive bosses, they do not need to be yellow bars. As long as you find a captain and or a servitor, all you need to do is defeat it, and it will drop something for you, and you need to collect a few of these pieces in order for you to move on to the next step. Something to keep in mind, the majority of the Bastion quest does take place on the Tangled Shore. Further into the quest, you might need to leave it, but if you do it right, you can do it all on the Tangled Shore. So keep in mind, it's only fallen captains and servitors for this first part, and as long as they're red barred, doesn't matter. As long as it's a fallen captain and or a servitor, that's what counts. Doesn't for this part, it's not anything special or specific, and you can go into the Lost Sector right next to Spider and farm this right away. And there's a servitor in there. To the right of the Lost Sector, there's also another servitor. So again, all you're doing is killing fallen captains and servitors for the spoken word part because you're collecting intel, and that's gonna lead you into your next quest step. Once you have defeated your fallen captains and or servitors, you will complete spoken word, and from here it will lead you into your next step. You need to go speak with Spider, and with spoken word completed, you get this quest step, which is called Lost Connection. This step, there isn't really much anything to it. All it is you returning to speak with Spider, and this will allow you to move forward in the quest. So again, it's his own quest step, but all it is that you are visiting Spider, and he will talk to you, and this will allow you to move forward with your quest step. So, it's not really anything too crazy or anything too difficult. All it is completing it, and you talk to him. This is one of those quests where you do have to go back and forth a few times once you complete a specific quest step. Once you do that, you will get Backroom Brawl. For this, you're going to go into the Lost Sector right next to Spider. This is the Lost Sector you should be very familiar with by this point. All you're doing, you're going to run the Lost Sector as you normally would, and when you get into the final room, the boss room, what is going to happen is a specific different enemy will spawn in once you have made it into the main boss room. Something to be worry about, something to be careful about, is he will spawn in from behind you. If you're facing the boss, he will spawn in from behind you. He will jump in from behind you, and he will attack you if you are not paying attention. That's something to keep an eye out for once you have made it into the final room. All it is you defeat this specific different boss, this named Yellow Bar. When you do that, it will allow you to complete the Backroom Brawl portion of this quest. Remember, you're running the Lost Sector as you normally would. You're going to make it into the final room, into the boss room, and the boss is going to spawn in from behind you. So keep that in mind so that he does not get the jump on you. If you're doing this in a fire team, maybe one person is facing the boss and two people are looking back waiting for the boss to jump in. And once you defeat this boss, you can leave the lost sector if you'd like to, or you can complete it as you normally would. But all you need is that name boss that will attack you from behind once you have reached the final room, which you're going to see right now when we get into the final room that it just came out of nowhere and it started attacking us. But once we defeated it, that was it. We got the quest step done. Once you have defeated the special boss right here in the Backroom Brawl, for the Backroom Brawl portion of this quest, excuse me, you will again need to return to Spider to talk to him. As I mentioned, it's one of those quests that you do need to go back and forth a few times in order to continue to move forward with the exotic quest. Nothing too crazy though. Previously mentioned, once Backroom Brawl is complete, you will again need to return to Spider in order to move forward with your Bastion quest. And again, he will talk to you and tell you something which I've made my effort to cut everything out to make it as spoil free as possible. Once you talk to him, it will give you a strong arm. This is the longest part of the quest. Not difficult, but it's the grindiest part of the Bastion quest. For this quest step, what you're going to do is you're going to complete 10 spider bounties, you're going to defeat 30 challenging enemies, and you're going to complete 8 public events. Now, for your challenging enemies, any yellow bar enemy will do. And as you will see right here, I'm killing any yellow bar that I see. There was a wanted target roaming the area, that counts. Any yellow bar, right? If it's red bars, they don't count because it's not really quote unquote a challenging enemy. So it has to be any yellow bar. Now here's the trick. If you jump into the public event right here, the captain that comes out of the pod and things like that, you can get your 30 challenging enemies in one run with this one public event that takes place right here that you're going to see as well. And the reason for that is if you make the public event heroic, you are going to get a ton of yellow bars. And even though they are smaller yellow bars, they count. So keep that in mind. This public event right here, you can get 30 challenging enemies in one run. And you can get that done at the snap of a finger, literally. So keep an eye out for that. This public event right here, you can get your 30 challenging enemies. For the 10 spider bounties, you can get the 4 daily bounties, and you can get all of the wanted bounties. However, if you want to stay on the Tangled Shore, here's the key, here's the secret. You complete the 4 daily bounties before the daily reset. So let's say you have 30 minutes before the daily reset, you pick up those bounties, Spider's daily bounties, complete those right before the daily reset. As soon as the daily reset hits, you will have another 4 set of daily bounties, and that will give you 8. For your last 2, pick up the 2 wanted bounties that are on the Tangled Shore, and that will complete your 10 spider bounties, because 2 of those spider bounties for the wanted enemies are public events to begin with. So you're doing 2 birds with 1 stone if you do it that way. Now, if you do not want to do it that way, you can pick up all the wanted bounties and leave the Tangled Shore and defeat those enemies and return to the Tangled Shore. You can do it that way. You absolutely can do it that way. However, if you want to do it a much easier way, keep this in mind. Daily bounties reset every day, and once again, you can pick them up, let's say 20 minutes before reset, complete those. As long as you have completed the daily bounties before reset, once reset hits, you have 4 bounties again. So right there, that's already 8. If you don't want to do it that way, you can absolutely leave the Tangled Shore. For the public event, here's your secret. Here's a tip. Any public event you complete counts for one, right? If you get your public event to heroic, it counts as two. So instead of completing 8 public events, you will need to complete 4 public events. Keep in mind, as this entire exotic quest takes place on the Tangled Shore, and if you do not want to be bouncing around from planet to planet, again, you can absolutely complete the entire quest on the Tangled Shore without leaving. Now, if you decide that you want to leave the Tangled Shore and complete the wanted bounties on the outside in different planets and different sections, you absolutely can. You're absolutely free to do that. If you want to stay on the Tangled Shore, so you're not going back and forth from Io to the Tangled Shore, or from EDZ to the Tangled Shore, or Nessus, or anything like that, you absolutely can complete it all on the Tangled Shore. Once you have your 10 spider bounties complete, you have defeated 30 challenging enemies, and you completed your public events, you will complete a strong arm, and this will take you to your next step, which is called Rude Awakening, and it's actually not at all what it sounds like. For Rude Awakening, it sounds like the most difficult part of the quest. It's actually the complete opposite. It is actually the easiest step of this entire quest. For Rude Awakening, what you're going to do is head to Four-Horn Gulch, and you're going to go into Trapper's Grave, Lost Sector. In this Lost Sector, you are going to investigate a grave. The way you find this grave, you can follow what you see on screen, but the best way to remember this, inside Trapper's Grave Lost Sector, there are 2 waterfalls. You're going to go past the first waterfall, and you're going to make it to the second waterfall. Remember that. The second waterfall is where your grave is at. Now, you do not need to defeat the enemies, but they are obviously going to wake up, and they will start attacking you. Though, if you manage to sneak in and not wake any of the enemies up, you can get by doing it that way. And with Backroom Brawl, with this Lost Sector, you do not need to complete it. You do not need to kill the boss. You do not need to open the chest. All you're doing is locating the grave, investigating it, and that's it. Now, again, keep this in mind. 2 waterfalls, you're going to make it past your first waterfall. On your second waterfall, that's where the grave is at, and it's going to be, if you're standing at the top of the waterfall, it's going to be at the bottom left, and you will be able to identify the grave because there's going to be like blue smoke emanating from the grave. All you do is investigate it or scan it, and that completes this part of the quest for Rude Awakening. Keep an eye out because enemies will spawn once you have investigated the grave, and they will attack you. Once you have investigated the grave in Four-Horn Gulch, this will make your quest into Altered Chief. For this quest step, you're going to run a special strike. It's called the Hollowed Lair Memento. And when you bring up your map on the Tangled Shore, you're going to see it on the bottom right. For this strike, all it is you're going to run the strike as you normally would. Once you make it into the final room, into the boss room, when you begin the damage phase on the boss, you will damage it a little bit, and the boss will disappear, and you will get a message that a certain special boss has spawned in, a different one from the main boss. For this is you're going to defeat the special boss that spawns in remember, you are going to get a message on the bottom left of your screen when you are in the final boss room after you have damaged the boss a little bit. For this, once you defeat the special boss, you do not need to complete the strike in its entirety. You can bail, or if you decide to stay, you can. Nothing extra happens if you stay, and this strike is anything works. Your loadout is not locked, there is no modifiers, there is no time limit, it's nothing like that. All it is a special version of the strike, and a special boss spawns in at the end once you have made it to the final boss room. That's it. Now, if you are a solo player, this part of the quest is match made. There is matchmaking for this step. So as soon as you start the mission, if you are by yourself, you will be matched up with 2 other players that are working on this part of the quest as well. Or if you have a fire team, you can go in with your fire team, and this way you do not get matched up with any random person. Though, even if you are matched up with a random person, there isn't really anything they can do that will mess this up. It's all the same. No loadouts, no time, it's not time, no modifiers, nothing. All it is you make it to the final room, you run the strike as you normally would, make it to the final room, defeat a special boss that spawns in. Once you do that, you will get your gun, and from here you will need to return to Saint 14, and once you do that, you will have officially gotten and completed your Bastion quest. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I'm Nate. I'll catch you guys on the next exotic guide.